There is something deeply mysterious in the way certain souls attract the most intimate confessions of other human beings. If you are one of those people with whom strangers share their most saved secrets, their deepest fears, or their most painful wounds without even knowing you well, Carl Jung would tell you that you are emanating something that goes far beyond your conscious personality. Your presence has become what Jung would call a fear, a sacred space where others can shed their social masks of that person they built to survive in the world. This capacity does not arise from techniques learned or conscious strategies. It is the result of a long process of individuation, where you have descended to your own depths, you have faced your own shadow, and you have integrated aspects of yourself that most prefer to keep hidden. Having sailed through your own emotional chasms, your psyche has developed what Jung described as the transcendent function, that ability to sustain opposites, to be present with both light and darkness without running away or judging. Your soul, through years of internal work often unconscious, has cultivated a vibratory frequency that others instinctively recognize as home. You do not need to say the correct words or adopt therapeutic postures. Your simple presence communicates security, acceptance, and understanding. It is as if yourself, that archetypal center of totality that Jung speaks, had learned to radiate an energy that invites others to reconnect with their own authenticity. The most extraordinary thing about this phenomenon is that it works as an unconscious catalyst. People not only feel comfortable with you, they feel an almost magnetic urgency to show you their most vulnerable parts. Jung understood that this happens because your psyche has developed the ability to contain, not in the sense of controlling, but of providing a psychic space wide enough and stable so that others can experience their emotions without feeling overwhelmed or judged. Your presence has become a reflection of what they want to find in themselves: unconditional acceptance and inner peace. When you look back in your life, have you realized that those decisions that you made without apparent reason, those elections that others considered reckless or illogical, took you exactly where you needed to be? Jung called this the wisdom of self, that superior instance of the psyche that orchestra our life from the depths of the unconscious, guiding us towards our individual destiny long before our conscious mind can understand it. The self, according to Jung, is like an invisible orchestra director who coordinates the experiences of our life to lead us to the whole. Those decisions that seemed impulsive or crazy at the time, change career without guarantees, move to an unknown city, end relationships that on paper worked, reject opportunities that others considered golden, were not acts of irresponsibility. They were answers to a deep call, an inner voice that your soul recognized as authentic even when your ego could not rationalize why. What you experienced as chaos, ruptures, or periods of uncertainty were, in fact, necessary initiations. Jung understood that the individuation process requires that we separate from the predetermined roads by society, family, or our own limited expectations. Every mistake you made, every pain you crossed, every moment you felt lost, was building in you the ability to sustain something bigger, the ability to be a container for the transformation of others. Now, from your current position, you can see the conductive thread. Those apparently disconnected experiences taught you empathy. They gave you perspective. They forced you to develop internal resources that you did not know that you possessed. They trained you, without realizing, for the role you are fulfilling now. Jung would say that yourself knew from the beginning that you would need that depth, that compassion gained by pulse, that wisdom born of conscious suffering, to be able to serve others in their own process of awakening and transformation. Third sign, your acute sensitivity has become your most precise compass in a world that often pathologizes sensitivity. You have learned something that Jung considered essential, that the ability to perceive emotional and energy subtleties is not a weakness, but a superior form of knowledge. Your nervous system, refined for years of intense experiences, has become a precision instrument that captures information that others do not even register. You can read people, feel the atmosphere of places, detect incongruities between what someone says and what he really feels. This hypersensibility that perhaps caused you suffering in the past, that tendency to absorb the emotions of others, to feel overwhelmed in crowds, to perceive tensions that no one else seemed to notice, it has become your superpower. Jung understood that those who have developed this capacity have learned to navigate what he called the collective unconscious, that shared psychic dimension where archetypal patterns that move humanity reside. You no longer need external validation to trust what you perceive. You have learned to distinguish between your own emotional energy and that of others, to use your sensitivity as a compass that guides you towards the authentic and takes you away from the false. When something does not feel correct, even if you cannot rationally explain why, you trust that information. When someone needs support, you feel it before they ask you. When a situation requires your presence, your intuition communicates it clearly. This ability to accompany others in their most difficult moments without losing you in the process is the result of having integrated what Jung called the injured aspects of your own psyche. Having explored your own emotional depths, having faced your own fragmentation and confusion, you have developed the ability to be present with the pain of others without fixing it or fleeing it. Your sensitivity has become wisdom and your vulnerability and strength. If you have felt your whole life as if you were a misfit, as if traditional structures, conventional works, rigid hierarchies, predefined social roles, you would have a suit that is not of your size, Jung would tell you that there is nothing wrong with you. On the contrary, your soul simply refuses to collaborate with what is false or limiting. This internal resistance is not capricious rebellion. It is the wisdom of yourself protecting your essential integrity. Your energy, your way of leading, if you lead, your way of relating to the world, do not easily align with pre-established molds because you came to create something different. Jung understood that the individuation process often requires that we separate from collective expectations to be able to give birth to our unique contribution to the world. Every time you tried to force yourself to fit into structures that did not resonate with your truth, you probably experienced a sense of inner death, of betrayal to yourself. This maladjustment that perhaps made you feel alone or misunderstood in the past is actually the source of your creative power. By denying you to divide internally to belong to groups or systems that do not honor your authenticity, you have kept intact your connection with your essence. You have preferred conscious loneliness to the company that requires your truth. This faithfulness to yourself, although it has been painful, has preserved your ability to create new, authentic spaces, which attract others who also seek to live with integrity. What the world sees as strange or different in you is precisely what allows you to offer something that no one else can give. Your unique way of seeing life, of processing experiences, of relating to others, is not a defect to correct, but a gift to honor. Jung knew that true innovatives, who really transform the world, are those who dare to be faithful to their essential nature, even when that means walking alone for a while. Your strangeness is your genius, and your resistance to the false is your strength. There is a moment in the process of individuation that Jung considered crucial, when we stop looking for external validation and began to trust our inner compass. If you have reached this point, if you feel that your certainty and your sense of direction come from an internal, silent and immovable place, you have reached what Jung called the self-authority, that direct connection with your deepest center that does not need the approval of the world to know that it is correct. This transformation does not happen overnight. It is the result of years of learning to distinguish between the voice of your ego, that always seeks recognition, security and approval, and the voice of your soul, which guides you towards what is true for you, regardless of what others think. You have developed what Jung called the religious function of the psyche, not necessarily related to organized religions, but to that sacred connection with something bigger than your conscious personality. Now you feel free to be who you really are and to move according to your intuition and internal convictions, even when no one else shares your truth or understands your choices. You act from a feeling of internal need and purpose, not to please, convince, or demonstrate your value. The deepest impact of your actions is no longer measured by external reactions, applause, or recognition, but by the internal transformation you experience and for your ability to stay faithful to your truth without losing yourself in the process. This fidelity to the invisible, to that inner guide that cannot always be explained rationally, holds you in a way that no external validation could do so. You first trust your internal orientation, and then, if necessary, external signs or confirmations may appear. But your primary action is born from faith in the invisible, of the confidence that walking in your truth aligns your path with something bigger, even when they cannot even or want to accompany you on that trip. If you have come here, it is because something inside recognizes these signals as your own. Carl Jung taught us that the individuation process is not an easy path, but he is the only one that leads us to the authentic totality. Each of these 5 signs that we have explored, that magnetic ability to create safe spaces, those seemingly crazy decisions that brought you exactly where you needed to be, that sensitivity that became wisdom, that resistance to the false, that preserved your authenticity, and that inner freedom that no longer depends on external approval, are evidence that your soul is fulfilling a much higher purpose of what your conscious mind can understand. Jung knew that those who cross the individual process inevitably become headlights for others, not because they seek to be, but because their simple, authentic existence radiates a frequency that awakens in others the desire of his own truth. Your day, with all its pains and transformations, was not just for you, was preparation for something bigger. Now I want to listen to you. Which of these 5 signs resonated more deeply with you? How is your own individuation process manifesting in your daily life? Share your experience in comments. Your story matters, and it can be exactly what another soul needs to listen to recognize its own path. Remember that in this community we celebrate deep thinkers, the soul seekers, those who are tired of pretending to be less than they really are. If this content touched something deep in you, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications. This is your space to explore the mysteries of the psyche and the spiritual awakening from Jung's wisdom. Like if you feel that this message arrived at the perfect moment, because as Jung taught us, there are no coincidences, only synchronicities. Until the next exploration, and always remember, you are not broken. You are becoming who you came to be. Your light is necessary in this world,